Hey guys, it's me Simo Orohara, and in this video, we will discuss Ginjo, and who might be the Shinigami that gave him his Shinigami powers, leading to Ginjo becoming the first substitute Shinigami. And to attempt to answer this question, guys, we will need to briefly touch on what was mentioned about Ginjo in the manga and then in the novel, so we can understand better the theories that I will propose in answering this question. This matter, guys, can be considered one of the most mysterious aspects of the story. Although Ginjo was one of the main characters in the Fullbring arc and much of that arc's events revolved around him, Kubo didn't delve deeply in his past. All we knew was that he was a substitute Shinigami and also has the Fullbring powers. And the main plot concerning Ginjo revolved around him representing a race of humans who have powers similar to Hollows, due to their mothers being attacked by Hollows while they were still in the womb. As we saw, their power is the Fullbring, where they can manipulate the soul of material objects and create their own abilities. So Kubo focused heavily on this concept, explaining how these powers work through the other characters associated with Ginjo, such as Tsukishima and the other members of the execution. And there was also an important element, which is the substitute Shinigami badge, which I considered one of the significant elements in that arc story, especially since it has roots back to the end of the Soul Society arc, when Ukitake gave the badge to Ichigo and told him that the Soul Society acknowledges the existence of the substitute Shinigami, and that when deemed useful, they are given this badge. And so Ukitake told him to keep it always with him because it has several benefits. Ichigo later discovered that it didn't have the benefits Ukitake mentioned. Perhaps the only positive aspect of the badge was that it allowed Ichigo to leave his human body. And Ginjo later told Ichigo that the badge's primary purpose was surveillance and control, allowing the Soul Society to monitor and analyze the Ryatsu of the substitute Shinigami and use them as pawns and eliminate them if they decided to rebel. And Ginjo added that the one behind this plan was Ukitake, as he was the one who gave Ginjo the badge, leading Ginjo to believe Ukitake betrayed him. And later, Toshiro revealed that the substitute Shinigami law was created specifically because of Ginjo. And in another chapter, Soifon mentioned that Ginjo was considered a criminal by the Shinigami for killing several Shinigamis before disappearing, only to appear later to gather new Fullbring members like Riruka, Jaki, Giriko, and Yukio. And so guys, if you want to talk about the timeline of Ginjo's events according to the manga, we find the following. An event of unknown timing is when Ginjo received the substitute Shinigami badge. Then at some point later, Ginjo met Tsukishima, and Kubo only showed the first encounter between them, where Ginjo appeared in his Shinigami Shihakusho with his Zanpakuto. And according to Ginjo himself and Toshiro and Soifon, Ginjo eventually discovered that the badge was a tool to spy on and control him, which led him to kill some Shinigami before disappearing from sight until he returned to form his new organization, the execution. And finally, he met Ichigo, and you know the rest of the story. So that's according to the manga, guys. But in the novel, Kubo tried to reveal some new details that were only hinted at in the manga. For example, it was revealed that the Fullbring power isn't as what's stated in the manga. The origin of the Fullbring power is linked to the fragments of the Soul King inside their mother's womb, which attracted the Hollows to attack their mothers. And another truth is related to the events of Ukitake giving the badge to Ginjo. In the manga, Ginjo believed that Ukitake was the one responsible for making the badge a tool for spying and control. However, the situation wasn't entirely like that, and instead of that, it was a huge scheme by the noble family, the Tsuneyashiro, who were trying to gather and retrieve the Soul King's body parts and everything related to him. Since the Fullbring's bodies contained fragments of the Soul King, this family was trying to find the Fullbrings and extract from them the fragments of the Soul King. So this dirty family have many information about many people. They know that Ginjo, a substitute Shinigami, and also was a Fullbring, and that Tokinada, who is one of them, is a friend of Ukitake. They were in the same generation as him at the Shinigami Academy, so it is possible that this connection made it easier for them to do what they intended. They gave Tokinada a surveillance device and ordered him to tell Okitake to place it in the badge, under the pretext that Ginjou needed to be controlled. And so Okitake agreed to this without knowing the Tsunoyashiro's true intentions, which were to monitor Ginjou until he eventually reunited with his forming friends. And him referring guys to his friends from the first generation, not Riruka's generation, but I'm talking about people like Ora's father, Tencho Agata, who was also a forming. We don't know exactly when Ora's father existed, but it was during the time when Ginjou was still a substitute Shinigami. And speaking about Tencho Agata, his wife was killed by a hollow attack, and due to that incident, he believed that his full-brain powers were the reason for his wife's death. So he was trying to find a way to get rid of that power, and he thought he found that in Ginjou, who seemed to have promised him that he had found a way to remove that power, which Agata saw the cause of his wife's death. And because of that, Agata, Tencho and the other Fullbrings went to Ginjou. So at the time, Ginjou didn't know that the Tsunoyashiro family was spying on him through the badge. They knew that Ginjou would meet his Fullbring's friends, so they sent some Shinigami to kill him and also his friends to extract the king's fragments from them, and the attack was undoubtedly a surprise to Ginjou and his group. The shock was even greater for Ginjou as he saw his friends being killed before his eyes. So he lost his mind and fought the Shinigami who killed his friends. And maybe he killed them all or some of them. What reached the Soul Society, or more specifically Okitake, was that Ginjou went crazy and killed the Shinigami sent to him. And this is how Tokinada conveyed what happened to Okitake without telling the truth, leading Ginjou to form a false idea about Okitake, thinking he was the one who caused his friend's death and betrayed him, and also Okitake at the time didn't know the true events. And after that, Ginjou disappeared from the Soul Society's site, and they considered him a mere criminal, and he remained hidden until he appeared again to gather new members, and this time to revenge from the Soul Society. And as you can see guys, even with the additional information provided in the novel about Ginjou's past, the starting point is still not addressed. How did Ginjou obtain the Shinigami powers in the first place? Or in other words, who was the Shinigami that transferred their power to Ginjou? Kobo, whether in the manga or the novel, didn't address this at all. Even when they asked him directly about it, he only mentioned Ginjou's age as 28 and said that who gave Ginjou his Shinigami powers and everything related to it is still a secret. And I'm asking, is it a secret related to the upcoming story, or is just a secret that Kobo doesn't want to reveal? We don't know. However, Kobo did provide another answer about this matter when they asked him about Ginjou in an interview in 2013. He said that the method by which Rukia transferred her Shinigami powers to Ichigo at the beginning wasn't something she came up with on her own, so we can understand that it was based on an event that happened in the past in the same way, which is Ginjou's incident. In the past, Ginjou somehow and for some reason met a Shinigami, and this Shinigami shared their powers with him by placing their Zanpakuto in his heart and thereby transferring their Shinigami powers to Ginjou, making him a substitute Shinigami. And if we look at the case of Ichigo and Rukia wanted to give Ichigo her Shinigami powers because she saw it as the only way to save Ichigo's family. And Rukia also mentioned that this process isn't easy and carries risks, and failure could result in the death of the human while receiving that power. So it can be understood that there is a risk for the human receiving those powers, as it could be fatal. For the Shinigami, why it was considered a crime in Rukia's time to transfer the Shinigami powers, it seems to me it wasn't the same during Ginjou's time, since the Shinigami powers were transferred to him and he worked as a substitute Shinigami. Normally, maybe the law against transferring Shinigami powers to a human was established after what happened with Ginjou in his killing of the Shinigami. Although in the novel the death saved the strawberry or something like that, it was mentioned that one of the reasons why the Soul Society considers transferring Shinigami powers to someone else is a crime is that the Shinigami's Ryatsu is like a fingerprint. So transferring Shinigami powers is like giving someone your identity. And now we come guys to the most important point. Who gave Ginjou the Shinigami powers? In my personal opinion, to try to answer this question, we must first try to understand Ginjou's motivations for acquiring that power in the first place. Was it, for example, like Ichigo? Was he in a situation where he needed Shinigami powers? I don't think so, because Ginjou already had Fullbring power. Therefore, I believe Ginjou might have wanted Shinigami power either to get rid of his Fullbring power or to help his friends who wanted to get rid of their powers, like Ginjou Agata. Of course, I'm talking about Ginjou during that period before he was betrayed by the Shinigami. And on the other hand, I believe that the Shinigami who gave Ginjou the Shinigami power was either from Squad 13 or one of the Tsuneyashiro's followers. I mentioned Squad 13 because there are certain similarities. For example, the one who transferred Shinigami powers to Ichigo was Rukia, an officer from Squad 13, and the one responsible for giving the badge to Ichigo was Okitake, the captain of Squad 13, and Okitake is the same person who gave the badge to Ginjou. And more than that, if you pay attention guys to Ginjou's words about Okitake, you will find that Okitake held a significant place in Ginjou's heart. He valued him greatly, and this is why what happened to Ginjou and his friends was more devastating when Ginjou believed that Okitake was behind it all. So is it possible that the one who originally transferred the Shinigami power to Ginjou was Okitake himself? This might be a weak possibility, but I consider it for two reasons. The first one is Ginjou's relationship with Okitake, as I mentioned, and also because of Rukia's knowledge of transferring Shinigami powers to a human. Perhaps she knew about it because her captain did the same thing, or maybe another member within Squad 13 did it, and thus she learned about it. Of course, there is another possibility that she learned about it in the Academy of the Shinigami, and the other possibility is related to Tsuneyashiro. I thought of it from the standpoint that when the Tsuneyashiro was searching for Fullbrings to extract the fragments of the Soul King from them, their attention fell on Ginjou. Thus, they might have thought of that big scheme to give Ginjou the Shinigami power, ensuring that he stayed close to them by working with them as a substitute Shinigami, especially if they knew that he wanted to gather other Fullbrings for some reasons, whether to help them to get rid of their powers or something else. The important thing is that Tsuneyashiro's concern was to gather as many Fullbrings as possible to kill them and extract the king's fragments from them, and this task could only be carried out by Ginjou, who had leadership qualities. Of course, he wouldn't know Tsuneyashiro's true plan, but he might be told a reason that would make him desire Shinigami powers. Then they would just need to use another Shinigami to transfer that power. And of course, who have read the novel will know that the Tsuneyashiro always makes someone else to do their dirty work. For example, they forced Tokinada, who was considered a low-ranking member of the family, to marry Kakyo to perform certain experiments on her, and Tokinada himself approached Ora to benefit from the king's Sakitsu that was inside her. Therefore guys, it's likely that Tsuneyashiro would use someone else to carry out this task of transferring Shinigami power to Ginjou. Therefore, in most cases, they might have used a Shinigami from Squad 13 to carry out that task, because we must forget that the Tsuneyashiro forced Okitake to give the badge containing the surveillance device to Ginjou. Thus, if they were capable of doing that, they might also be able to find a way to make either Okitake or another Shinigami to transfer the power of the Shinigami to Ginjou. So in the end guys, the possibilities I thought of are as follows. A Shinigami might have given his powers to Ginjou without the Tsuneyashiro's intervention, and that happened as a result of a certain incident that might be similar to Ichigo's, but with a different circumstances. It could have been Okitake or another Shinigami from the same squad, or it could have been Okitake or another Shinigami but with the push from the Tsuneyashiro, according to everything I mentioned about Tsuneyashiro. So guys, what do you think about what I have said? Do you have other theories, other suggestions? Tell me guys in the comments, and see you in my next video.